Zenless was released July 2nd of this year, and on launch we had about 7 S ranks and 9 A ranks. Although a pretty small starting roster, it was pretty solid. We had a good mix of both S and A ranks to complement one another. As of making this video in December of 2024, about 5 months later, the number of S ranks has more than doubled with 16, with the inclusion of Harumasa and Miyabi coming out real soon. While on the A rank side, we've only had Seth added to the game, and that's it. He's the only A rank added since launch. And don't get me wrong, although it's pretty cool to see that we're getting Harumasa as a free unit, you know, a free S rank, can't complain about that, it has me still worried about something else, and that is the severe lack in low rarity units compared to the higher rarity ones. And I get it, it's a gacha game, and how else are they gonna make money besides releasing these hot, flashy, and cool S-rank characters to get you to buy? But I do believe the game is becoming a bit stale pretty fast, especially if you're a free-to-play player. And just to clarify, I am not a free-to-play player. I am going to throw my money at characters I want because I have the money to do so I don't mind at all. But I can see it from the point of view of free-to-play players who spend so much of their hard-earned polychromes and not get much value out of it. Trying to gather up enough polychromes to pull and not get the S rank you want already hurts. Having to pray you beat that 50-50 plus trying to not go all the way to hard pity, it's pretty rough for a lot of players out there. I think we all can understand that struggle. So then you settle for A ranks. However, there's only so many A ranks in the game right now that after you get your 7th copy of Ambi, it gets pretty tiring to see. Also, just to point out, I'm not trying to doom and say, oh, Zenless is gonna die if they don't implement these set changes. The fact is, the game is pretty much well alive and still doing pretty well as far as I know. There's been so many quality of life changes that's been introduced since launch, and I'm happy to see the future of this game. I love Zenless, and it's my longest playing Hoyo game yet, but I just want to see some proper changes so it doesn't get too tiring to play and everyone ends up happy. So after dabbling a little bit in Honkai Star Rail and Genshin, I do know that they follow a similar formula where essentially they have more S ranks, or 5 stars in their games, than low rarity units. And even if that's the case, it doesn't make it completely fun. At least with the other Hoyo games, you have a good number of low rarity units at this point that you can play with and mix around the gameplay to keep things kind of fresh and different, versus just having around 10 A ranks to play around with in Zenless. I took a second to look at the ratio between the low and the high rarity units of each game, and well, unless my math is wrong, and excluding the main characters such as Trailblazer and the Traveler, and their alts, Genshin has about 42 low rarity units versus their 48, and that's a pretty good ratio actually, especially since I took out the Traveler and their alts entirely, so you can put them either in the high rarity camp or low rarity camp. Now we get the Honkai Star Rails ratio, which is a little bit not so great. There's 23 low rarity units versus their 36 high ones. Not terrible, you can still play around with 23 other low rarity units, so not the worst thing ever. Now finally, we get the Zoneless with their ratio being 10 lows and their 16 highs. Upon looking at it, of course, it's not completely fair to compare the previous 2 games as they've been out longer, so therefore their roster has been kind of filled out. But if we take a look at how long Zenless has been out, we've only gotten 1 A rank in 5 months. Honkai Star Rail, for the most part, has released an A rank for every 2. In the recent months, it's been kind of iffy, but at least earlier on in its patch cycles, when it started out, it followed that pattern. These 4 patches consistently released an A rank with every 2 S ranks, and these patches were released within a month or so between each one. And also, why stop there? I have to give Genshin some credit, and they actually released some low rarity units more frequently than I thought, actually, so good job, Genshin. Now, if we're looking at Zenless character releases, the frequency of the character releases for A ranks is becoming more concerning, especially since now that we know we're getting both Miyabi and Harumasa to end out the year, we haven't seen any more A ranks, and I'm a little bit scared for the future of A rank characters a little bit. Also, as of recently, while writing the script of this video, I saw that the dialogue of low rarity units not being enough was happening in the Star Rail community on Twitter, so it's definitely a sentiment shared amongst some players out there in the Hoyo games. We're currently 5 months into Zenless' life cycle, and of course it's early to tell whether or not we'll receive more A-rank characters to fill out the roster soon enough, and maybe they'll just add like 10 more to surprise us to fill out everything later, so I could be totally wrong. Or they can just say, screw it, we want money, so here's 10 more S-rank characters, because they can do that, you know, they want to make money. And I don't blame them for one bit, because if you're making such hot characters, you might as well just, you know, sell them. I'm just hoping we don't get to a situation where the S-rank characters' numbers triple the amount of A-ranks. Seth was released back in September, we're currently in December, and the gap between A-rank releases is growing slowly, and that scares me. A-rank characters are the backbone of not just Zenless's game, but many other gacha games out there. Many of them being great setups or supports for the S-rank units so they can deal all their big damages. Some A-rank characters can be just as strong as S-rank characters if you invested enough resources into them, and I've seen that firsthand with my Billy series. He's an absolute monster once you get him to end game. So I'm gonna throw my favorite gacha game of all time out there. Sorry, ZZZ. But Arknights. Arknights has always been my top favorite game, especially when I was a free-to-play player. For the most part, whenever there's a 6-star unit released in Arknights, there's always a lower rarity unit included. Now, albeit it's probably like a 5-star, not like a 4-star, but still, the chances of getting a 5-star is higher than getting a 6-star. I almost said S rank, like, that's how confusing these terminologies are getting. But the amount of different ways to play Arknights is a lot because you have so many operators to choose from. And of course, alright, the game is much different than Zenless. You know, one is a tower defense game and the other is an action-based one. But the principle of having a large roster of characters to choose from to let you play in different ways applies to not just gacha games, but I think pretty much every game in general. And one of the coolest parts about Arknights is the fact that there's so many creators out there who make guides on how to clear harder stages with the low rarity units only. So if you really wanted to, you can invest in the low rarity units and they will carry you for a long time. And once you start building up your pulls and start getting the other higher units, you can use the low rarity units to supplement them until you can finally replace them. And as much as I love my Billy and other characters, it does become slowly too boring and too routine to play with him and the same supports and team comps again and again. But if we had more selections from low rarity units to play in ZZZ, well then I'll be able to kind of spice up my gameplay by, you know, letting Billy play with a new support or something. Because playing with just Sokaku and Nicole can get kind of boring after a while. And on the subject of characters, I would like there to be a bit more variety in characters in Zenless. We're only a few months into the game, so no doubt they'll add more characters with different elements and roles added to the game that aren't already there. Maybe finally an ice defense unit, that'd be great. Or even better, any kind of ether unit finally added to the game. It's looking really rough when you have to fight enemies weak to ether and you don't have Juyuan, so you have to settle for the next best DPS ether unit, and that technically is Nicole. I don't want to build Nicole DPS. Actually, that'd be a good video idea. Maybe one day I'll do that, but right now I don't want to do that. Also, our only A-ranked stun unit in the game is Ambi, so unless you really like Ambi, you're stuck with her for a good while until you get lucky or unlucky with your S-rank pulls. Coletta, Lighter, Qingyi, and Lycon are all stun units that are locked behind that coveted S-rank wall. So get to pulling and praying that you pull for any one of these to break out of Ambi prison. There's also a bit of duping going on in the game where you have a character with the same element and a unit type that already exists out there. I just want to see a bit more variety in the game right now rather than replacing and power creeping people who already, you know, fill that niche. Power creeping would eventually happen, of course, but man, at least give Coletta some time before she gets replaced by Lighter. I like Coletta, but holy cow, once you have Lighter, you don't need Coletta anymore. That man makes fire and ice teams stupidly strong. Meanwhile, Coletta, she's cute, I guess. Another situation is Yanagi being the electric anomaly unit, you know, even though we already had Grace in the game prior. And I'm not too sure on this, but I think I've heard many people say that Yanagi pretty much outclasses Grace in like every single way. We would eventually reach the point of having duplicate characters as the game keeps going, of course, as they add more characters, but having it right here and now seems a little too redundant too soon. And just to make it clear, I don't mind having the idea of having an S-rank character and an A-rank character overlap. An A-rank character can serve as a stepping stone until you finally get that S-rank character to replace them, or you can just keep them and use them forever, because they fill that niche, and you don't need to replace them at all if you like them that much, you know? And once again, with the Ether example, it'd be nice to have another Ether unit in the game besides one that's already an attack unit that's, an S-rank character, and the other is Nicole. So I'm not trying to hate on Nicole at all. I love Nicole, but man, does it get kind of stale to play these characters all the time. This is a me thing, but I really hope we climb out of the anomaly meta soon. There's just so many anomaly units right now. I'm getting kind of tired of it. I get it. We want to pad out the anomaly thing because we only had Grace at launch, but can we just please move on real soon? I want to see something else other than anomaly units. And also, team building can be very tough for players who aren't used to team building themselves. A lot of guides out there online recommend having at least 2 S ranks specifically for a team, so unless you have those 2 specific S ranks, you simply cannot recreate that team. I will admit though, to Genshin's credit, they actually do the team building pretty well. I haven't played in forever, but when I took a look at the Genshin Lab team builds, one of the top teams still played right now, or at least they rank it as one of the top tier teams that you can do, and that's using Raiden with 3 other 4-star units, and this is considered a top tier team according to Genshin Lab, which I don't know how, you know, viable they are and, you know, how much we should trust them, but when I was playing it back then, I kind of trust them, so why not? Genshin and Star Rail have a bit more variety in team building, and I hope to see that same kind of energy in Zenless one day. Going forward, for really all gacha games out there, please just add more low rarity units to your game. They're the bloodline of games, and they've always been there when you needed them most when you didn't really think you needed them in the first place. Having an A rank be that small consolation prize when you don't get the S rank softens the blow a little bit, especially when you realize, you know, I don't have that S rank, but I might as well just keep that A rank for one day. They could fit in another comp one day, or they could be a new main, you don't know. Alright, anyways, thank you for watching, guys. I appreciate you guys getting this far in the video. Hopefully what I said makes sense, and hopefully maybe some of you guys go like, yeah, I agree with this guy or something, or else maybe it doesn't make any sense and I just talk for no reason and I'm wasting everyone's time. Anyways, thanks for watching. See you guys later.